The curriculum is not there to push their talent, to push for innovation, to
Very true.
push for deeper thinking. But all these people are potentially going to fit into various industries in the country. If we invested in their education, in their talents, in their capabilities, they're going to grow up. They're going to fill different seats in different sectors of our economy. Imagine
Yes.
how far we could reach if every child was given access to proper and adequate education. We'd be
I
far
know.
as a country, we'd be far as a region, and even as a continent. Africa would not be the continent where our talent leaves.
Karibu.
No way.
Musibire muta. Mwasibye mutya. Amahoro. Agandi. Byaibo. Habari gani? Muraho. Sangonini. Kopango. Odeo. For those of you who are wondering what that was, these are some of the various local greetings found in East Africa's diverse languages. Welcome to She Center, the female podcast, where I dive into the issues and experiences that affect women everywhere. I am your host, Resty, and I am passionate about creating a safe space for women to share their stories and triumphs. I want to thank you for tuning into my podcast, and I would love for you to join our community and stay connected with us beyond this episode. You can find us on Instagram at _She Center _podcast, and follow us on Facebook at the She Center Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and hit that follow and like button on our social media to be part of the conversation. Hi guys, welcome back to the She Center podcast. I'm your host Resty once again, the founder of She Center, the female platform. And this season, as you may or may not know, we are answering the question that women across East Africa might be asking themselves when they come across our page. Why She Center? Why does it exist, and why now? Today's guest is someone whose life and work answers that question before I even ask it. She is a law graduate and a gender equality advocate, and she has co-founded an organization which is empowering the youth. She's a part of so many organizations that are about change and to make it possible for children and young people in Tanzania. She is a founding member of Woman to Woman in Kisarawe district, I believe. I hope I said that right. An NGO that got on the ground and dealt with the real things: learning materials, sanitary towels, financial education, self-awareness. As you might know, those are things that are the backbone of She Center. Then in 2022, she went further ahead and co-founded, and she's also a chairperson of Uplift Human Development Foundation, this time centering both girls and boys in her mission to holistically change or impact the child and their development. She is a nominee for the East African Youth Awards Education Catalyst Award, and she firmly believes, and I love this, that things get solved when we choose to get involved. So please help me welcome Martha Kibwana. I hope I said your name right. Hi, Martha.
Hi, how are you, Resty? It's so wonderful to be here with you.
Yeah, me too. I'm so happy to have you. That was a whole mouthful of things that you're doing, but I'm happy that we get to break down everything. I got this as a tip from a colleague of mine who hosts a podcast, and before this, I would always record like the intro and outro after when the guest is gone, and it would take me so much time because sometimes after the recording, we take a long time to download the episode, and there's so much happening. And then I have to dress up and make sure I look exactly how I looked in the video and then do the intro, because I used to make sure that what I'm talking about in the intro is what we have talked about in the episode. But I realize now that I can just introduce the person as they are as a whole, even if we might not get to talk about so many things. So, Martha, if someone did not know who you are, and someone is watching or getting to know you for the first time, what would you want them to know about you?
I'd want them to know that I care. I care about so many things, and I choose to get involved. I'm a person that believes the reason we were put on this earth is to help one another.
Yes.
And I try to apply that in almost all areas of my life, not just in the work that I do, but in, things outside of work as well.
Okay, that's good to know. I like that. I love caring. I think there's a thing for it. Some people care too much, and it kind of becomes a burden. I don't know if you're those kinds of people, but I do try to find myself these days. Trying to avoid caring about everything. So, for instance, when someone sends me a link about the news, I'm like, I'm not adding that onto my plate. I don't want to know which war is happening in the Middle East. I honestly don't know what's happening in the Middle East. And yet, I'm a political science major, but I have chosen to leave politics to the people who are interested. Because I'm like, you know what? I'm already stressed about what women need and thinking about She Center. So, are you the kind of person who just feels like everything is on your shoulder, or are you the person who decides, I'm going to give this thing my time, I'm going to let this be?
So I try not to spread myself out too thin. And like you said, you have to filter the things you observe. There's so many bad
Yes.
things going on. You have to care and follow up, but you have to be careful not to suck in everything bad. But
True.
also, when I do say caring, you also have to care about yourself as well. You cannot
True.
efficiently be
True.
there for others if you are emotionally or mentally unwell. So you have to be
Very
present,
true.
but
Yes.
at the point where it does not damage you.
Very true. Very true. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to maximize self care because I think in the last year, the last couple of months, I was so straightforward. I need to launch this website, I need to launch this platform. And there are moments when I would completely forget about myself. My skin was starting to show. Like I was breaking out. I was starting to feel a bit, when you feel like I'm not doing okay because I'm even forgetting to drink enough water or to to eat well because I was like, this is all I have to do. So I do understand, and I think that's something we can talk about along the way because as a founder to founder or co-founder to co-founder, it's something that many people like they get so in their head like I have to do this, I have to make it perfect, that you forget yourself and you realize that this thing will be founded and it might even move on to be owned by somebody else, and you will be like, what, why did I waste all my time doing this? So it's always best at least to choose yourself above everything else, even if your heart is for the people. So my first question to you, Martha, is before the NGOs, before the advocacy, before the law degree, who were you as a young girl from Tanzania, growing up in Tanzania? That's if you grew up in Tanzania, because I can tell from your accent that you have also lived abroad. I don't know. It sounds like as a you probably tell me. I don't want to guess wrong and look funny, but you can tell us more. Your life, I can already tell, has a little bit of a mix of more than one country based on how you sound. So, did you always see yourself as someone who would build something for others? So, you can start the first part and then you answer the second one.
Thank you so much, Resty. I was born in Japan. I stayed there for like 2 years with my parents. We moved around a lot because of my dad's job. But then afterwards, I've never been anywhere else apart from Africa. I've been within the African continent after that.
Okay, okay.
I was in Dar es Salaam for like my early childhood education, and then we went to Addis Ababa, and I spent 10 years of my life there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think because I was in a school where there were so many nationalities, and the teachers were mostly there were Ethiopian teachers, but there were teachers from other parts of the world. So you kind of suck up the way they talk, you observe
Yeah.
the way they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, no, I know. If you move around the African continent, you realize that the kids, like if you can go into a region, I noticed this when I was working remote areas, like you get into a school and you find a kid who comes from a completely different tribe, but they sound like the people there, and you're like, Why? And then you realize it's because the teacher, especially in the formative years, like from 5 years around the early primary years, you realize
Yeah.
that this kid is trying to sound like their teacher. Like there's so many English words I still pronounce wrongly because of my teacher, because how the teacher pronounced it. But that's always a conversation starter. Do you always get that? Like, do people always immediately assume, oh, I don't think she grew up here because she sounds a little bit different?
Yes, I did get that a lot. When I moved back to Dar es Salaam, I went to an international school, so everyone else pretty much sounded like me. So once I started my higher education, yeah, people could notice, people could tell. It was always part of the conversation. Where are you from?
Yes.
Where did you live? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
for
good
some
still.
reason, people think I'm Kenyan for some reason.
Huh. Interesting. I would not guess that. I feel like the Kenyan accent is quite thick. It's quite okay for most people. Like here in Germany, many West Africans cannot identify like East Africans, so they make us sound all the same. And I'm like, come on, we don't sound the same. So most times they're like, "Are you from Kenya?" I'm like, "Is that the only country you know in East Africa?" I'm like, "I don't sound Kenyan." And then when you tell a Kenyan, "Are you Tanzanian?" They're like, "How dare you say that? I'm not Tanzanian." So it's interesting how we are like fighting for our identity, but the outsiders literally see us as literally like for us we're like we all sound the same. So yeah, I like that. And maybe you can tell us a little bit how, because we're going to talk about your work. I do understand that for me, Shift Center is mostly born from what I saw growing up and what I didn't see. So I sat down and I said, okay, what do women have? What did women not have when I was growing up? The work that you're doing, what you studied, law is usually a decision to, make a change, make sure that you're a person who is driven by change. Would you say that your upbringing or your life and everything that happened in between could have inspired what you studied and what you're trying to make to bring change to?
Thank you so much. I think so. Firstly, I understand that I grew up privileged. I do not. I do not. I do not dismiss that at all. Uh, and within the upbringing, I realized that in as much as I was comfortable, it does not it does not disqualify me from caring about issues that I may not necessarily have dealt with.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I have I was raised by empathetic people, and I was taught by empathetic people. The teachers around me, the educators, everyone around always cared more about others and what was going on around them. And I think that influenced the way I grew up too. That I may not be experiencing a certain issue, but
Yes.
that doesn't mean I cannot care. Does not mean I cannot put my energy and time into solving the issues that I see
Yeah.
around me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I like that. And I think in many cases also for you to bring change, being an outsider is a good thing. Because if you see things from the outside, you get to actually see more than what, because you're not limited but what those people are experiencing. So let's talk about woman to woman. I love that. I love what woman to woman sounds like. For me it's like sounds like she's center what we're trying to do here. Tell us about that journey. How was that like for you, and what made you get into contributing to this foundation?
Thank you so much. So, Woman to Woman was founded by an amazing woman that I love and respect till this day. Her name is Lucy. Fun story. We were friends in kindergarten and in grade one and two. And then when I left the country, we lost touch. When I came back, we sort of rekindled. So, when I was in university, she told me about this project, and she got in contact with other Tanzanian ladies from various universities, and she said, guys, we need to come together. Education is very difficult for women in Africa, whether
Sure.
you're in university, whether you're in primary or secondary school. There's so many obstacles that pit the odds against girls, so we need to do something about it. And I fell in love. I fell in love with the idea, and I was like, Lucy, sign me up. And it was so impactful. So many different girls from different universities and different regions in Tanzania. We came together and we sort of like picked areas that were most challenging for young girls. So we're talking about menstrual health and hygiene and how that affects the education journey, lack of materials, lack of knowledge, lack of proper sanitary places, toilets for girls. We were also looking at, some of the things that arise, like once a woman is changing and how all of a sudden you are now you could be potentially a target of sexual abuse. And then also we focused on the education side as well, in terms of funds for tuition and in terms of books and other materials that could aid. We went to schools, we talked to the students, and the good part that I think the unique part of Woman to Woman, when we were doing the school visits and interacting with the young girls, we always had the boys there. We never excluded them. There were things we could only talk to with the girls, but most of the things we made sure the boys were there because gender equality is not a fight for women only. It's not an exclusive women's club. Men are our allies. And when you teach them to be our allies, to fight with us, to help protect us, the results and the outcome are more efficient, I believe.
Yes,
So
sure.
it was a
That's very
wonderful journey.
Yeah, that sounds very amazing. I saw that there are so many studies right now where they're teaching men. I even saw one where they're teaching men how to take care of their women, give them massage and all that. That would be so amazing. I want someone to teach my husband that. I have to remind him. Imagine like involving someone in something as simple as this is how you can take care of your wife. That's an empowerment for the man, for him to think differently from how society has taught him he's supposed to think. But at the same time, it's empowering the woman to, come home and not have to explain herself. And for the man to be able to notice, oh, I can notice you look tense, you look tired. Do you want to talk about it? Like men really need to know how to talk to women, especially on times when you just want to talk and he's like giving you practical solutions. So I like that because I really feel that to move forward, we really need to go moving ahead together. And also in that conversation, when you have both men and women, you get to hear the perspective of the men. You get to hear what they're thinking. Because sometimes you come with all your things and men are like, that's not working here. Like, this is what. So did you encounter what kind of challenges or exciting experiences did you encounter when you were trying to educate both boys and girls about girls?
So it wasn't so much challenging. We're so grateful. When we were encountering the young men, they were very open and receptive. Of course, because of their age, I think that might have influenced their attitude towards what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
I imagine if they were older men, it might have been different. There were no obstacles. It was just interesting to see how the concepts we were talking about, the young boys were not defying or they were not opposing what we were suggesting, but it was new because at home that's not
They
what
don't.
they see. Yeah. So it
Yeah.
was good to sort of plant those seeds in the younger generation. Hopefully
Yeah.
things could change moving forward.
Yes, I like that. I like that. And walk us through what education actually looks like on the ground in the communities that you have served. And when a girl lacks access, what does that really cost her, or beyond you just missing school?
Right. In the communities that I've served, education is present. I will say this. The government has worked very hard to make primary education accessible to all. So there's
Yes.
free primary education. It's part of the universal primary education policy in Tanzania. However, just because it's accessible does not mean that, the students, especially the young girls, within the classrooms are getting the best that they can get. So you know that not all the teachers are properly trained. You know that
Yeah.
the supporting materials, like blackboards, benches, textbooks, those things are not easily available. They're not in the numbers that they should be. And all of this affects the final outcome, how a young girl can perform. And then, of course, when you leave the school setting, when you go home, there's that sense of their education is not, I would like to say, not all parents are like this in the communities we serve, but some do not value the girl's education as much as the man's. Some are thinking, well, why do
Yes.
you need to study anyway? We're going to marry you
Yes.
off, or you're going to get a husband, and all of this.
Yes.
So the challenges are within the classroom and outside as well.
That's very true. I worked under a project funded by USAID, and it was early grade reading. And it's interesting. You would go into remote villages, and on a rainy day, you get into class to do assessments, and they're only boys. And it was always like confusing. So the teachers told us that during the rainy season, the girls have to stay home and take care of the little ones, or as their parents are doing the gardening and farming. And I was so strange, like it was so painful to imagine. So the schools we went to in remote villages in Uganda, in Western Uganda, that the headmaster, there's a particular school where the headmaster would always beg us, I need you, the girls, to come and please speak to my girls. And we'll go to the assembly and just to tell them that, oh, I studied in the university. And they're like, wait, what? You mean I can dream that big? I can dream to be like a doctor or a lawyer? Because the truth is, many of those kids have probably never been to the main hospital. Maybe they have never seen a doctor who is a woman. So it becomes very hard. Yeah, so thank you for talking about that. So tell us about this organization, because you've just talked about a few of the things, but what inspired you to co-found this organization? What was the journey like for you?
So, in regards to UHDF, the passion behind it, my co-founder and I studied in the same university. So, we benefited from having access to education. And we realized that's not the case, especially for children in rural areas. And we came together. The motivation behind this was Africa has talent. East Africa as a region has talent. Tanzania as a country has talent. And sometimes the reason why that talent is not utilized as properly as it should is people are not given the chance from the beginning. People are born in situations where they don't have access to adequate education, to the best schools. In Tanzania, there is a huge disparity between the private schools or the international schools and the
True.
local schools. And so there's students who are going to government and local curriculum schools, but the curriculum is not there to push their talent, to push for innovation, to
Very true.
push for deeper thinking. But all these people are potentially going to fit into various industries in the country. If we invested in their education, in their talents, in their capabilities, they're going to grow up. They're going to fill different seats in different sectors of our economy. Imagine
Yes.
how far we could reach if every child was given access to proper and adequate education. We'd be
I
far
know.
as a country, we'd be far as a region, and even as a continent. Africa would not be the continent where our talent leaves because things are not profitable here, and we would grow.
Yes, that's very true. That's so much forward thinking, I would say. I read a book called Prepared. I don't know if you've read it. It's called Prepared by an American author who was picked out because she was teaching in public schools, and she realized that her students were not graduating, and people were not considering the fact that the reason why they're not graduating is, like you said, they're talented, they have everything, but they are competing against private schools. They're competing with the kids who have everything in their homes. So she changed the system and said she started a school system where everybody graduates. But when they're teaching you, they don't just teach you to have knowledge, they prepare you for the world after. That means when you've graduated, you might end up being a doctor because maybe you were book smart, but others are sent, they take them into, like, from the time they are young, they teach them the necessary skills, how to write a CV, how to go into an interview. By 16, these kids have done apprenticeships. They have talked to people at their school who do this work. They get to ask them questions. Like, they tell them, we're bringing someone who is, let's say, a cashier in the mall. Ask them, what do you want to know from them? How did they, like, by the time they've finished senior, okay, that's like senior 4, I believe, in East Africa. By the time they're done with high school or in their junior high school, they have everything that they need to move into life. They don't, not all of us have to be doctors, because now we can see that some kids are just smart with their gadgets. Maybe you can just teach a kid how to use their phone and make money off of it. Because right now, these are the kids who are driving the economy, the influencers. Not because they're book smart, but because the arts come easy to them. And then we have people running. You go run a marathon, you come back and you're saving your whole community. But that's because maybe one person believed in you and said, okay, this is your gift. Let's pour everything into it so that you can be able to excel in life. And I love that you're doing that, because I think across Africa, we are seeing, like you said, a lot of talent is leaving because we don't have opportunities for people. Someone is an IT specialist, but they don't have the software they need to grow their art of developing, because they're going to a public school. And then the kid in private school ends up getting the job just because they grew up with a computer in their home. So that kind of becomes unfair. And I want us to talk more about the unfair disadvantages that you would think, or maybe some of the examples that you're finding in your work that could be compared to, for instance, you're a person who went to international school. If you can share with us, what do you think about your studying and your curriculum has prepared you for life?
Thank you so much. Firstly, I agree with everything you just said right now. It's so true. And I think for the international curriculum schools, it's like you said, it's a different system, but mostly, apart from academics, you are taught to, advance your soft skills, because you could learn a particular skill, like, medicine or, law. You could learn a particular practice, but as a human being, when you're working, you'll be working with other people, you'll be serving other people, you'll be, collaborating with other people. There needs to be soft skills that can accompany the actual like educational background that you have. And so I feel like these schools invest heavily to make sure not only do you have the knowledge in a particular subject, but you have the skills that can allow you to properly use it. If we put you in a room, you will figure out where you can go. If there's no opportunity, immediately the type of thinking we've instilled in you will push you to find opportunities. If you are in a particular place and maybe the practice ends here, your mind is creative, it's innovative, you are going to push the practice ahead, forward. And that's how discoveries come about. That's how new things are built and created. So I think with the local curriculum schools, it's not that I think it's the curriculum itself. Like you said, most of it revolves around cramming and a lot of knowledge. But then I think where the deficit is how can you apply it to a context that's relevant to our lives now?
Yes.
If we look at content creators, there's no official university program for content creation, at least here in
I think they are
Tanzania.
probably trying to put that digital marketing or something. I hope they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, well, there's digital marketing, but when you look at Western universities, there's content creation
Yes.
programs. So there
Yes.
may not be a specific program for it here yet, but you can see content creation is not easy. You might
It's
think, oh, you just put
it's
your camera
hard.
on, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
No, it takes soft skills to be able to discern if I put this, if I post this, if I behave this way, I can capture this market. And then I can make it lucrative for me in terms of brand deals and appearances in TV shows, open a business. So there's a focus on the knowledge, but then how is it relevant to the Tanzanian context? And how can you flourish? Where are the soft skills that can help you either grasp opportunities that are available, or in most cases, in African countries where opportunities are scarce and the number of graduates are way more than the opportunities available, how can you create your own opportunities? I
True.
think
That's
the
very
two
true.
systems vary in that way.
Yes, I love that. And I really love what you're saying because as you're speaking, I'm thinking back to so many of my friends. I had this friend in senior six vacation. Her mom took her to international school. The mom always made sure that they traveled abroad. So after school, we were both looking for jobs. And I'm thinking, applying for jobs, I don't even know. And I needed the money. I needed the money. So this girl just walks into one of the biggest stores. It's like by this lady called Sylvia Worry. And she's like a designer. She had like a modeling agency. She just walked into the shop with her confidence and she said, "Hi, are you guys hiring?" She even like forced an accent because she had been to America. And they were like, I think they probably thought she was like coming from abroad or something. And that's just her confidence. The guys there said, "Oh yeah, if you want, you can go to we can call our boss and ask her." So they called her and she said, "Yeah, I want to work here." And she said, "Can you come to my factory office like immediately?" She got into a border. She went there and she got the job. I was like, I don't think I can do that. Like, I was doing well in school, but I didn't have the confidence to even go into it's until now in my 30s where I think right now, I keep telling myself, I wish I could go back and have interviews right now for job interviews because I believe more in myself. I feel more empowered because I have spent the last 4 years developing soft skills. I have literally had to take courses, read books, listen to podcasts on how to communicate, how to deal with everything that I'm going through and turn it into something meaningful, and how to use what I think is irrelevant. Like you said, a kid in the village, they have seen the struggles of their lives. So that means they're the best people to fix the problems that are going on in their societies. But they need to be empowered. We know of that kid somewhere in West Africa who started this windmill thing. I think he did it with the teacher. And that's because these kids they were struggling at their home to water their plants. So he learned everything that they had because they had a small library, and the teacher noticed and then gave him all the information. And this guy is in the movies right now. But why aren't more teachers teaching kids to do practical things like fixing the normal everyday problems in their society and not focusing on teaching them how to go to the university? Because the truth is they might not make it there because they're limited by resources, but at least they might be able to find something that is going to help their society. And I wonder why the government, maybe it takes some time, it takes time, but I wonder why the government doesn't take that more urgently. I understand that the education system right now was like built like when our parents or grandparents, it's an old system that is moving in a completely changed world. And I know in Uganda, our minister is trying to make a change. So for the kids who started senior one in 2020, so they are graduating this year. My niece is part of this team. They have now studied for they are going into their 6th year. They changed their system. Now they are more about research. They are more about, they have to do their own research. They have to do and after senior 4, they had the choice to stop there and they get a certificate so they can do an apprenticeship. And like before where they said, okay, you need senior 6 for you to be like a well-educated person. is your government trying to make some of these changes to kind of like do what the private schools are doing, or is it for you still the same from before?
I think in terms of trying to change and to make our education system stronger, the government has been doing a lot. Number one, we talked about the universal primary policy, so that makes education,
Right.
affordable for all. There's some challenges, but it's been ensuring that the number of students that go into secondary school are increased.
More.
Whereas before, the number of children enrolling in high school or secondary school was much lower. So that's the effort in the
Yeah.
first part. But secondly, they have made it, again, they've seen that we need context-based curriculum that will help us. Um, there's various um, there's various programs that are specific for our situation and our environments. We've got heavy marine biology courses. I mean, a lot of our areas are around coastal regions, and then we also have multiple lakes as well. We have heavy, tourism courses because, of course, we have a lot of
Tourists,
enticing
yeah.
sites. But then there's also other things. We have put a lot of effort to improve and sort of make accessible STEM programs, especially for women. They're pushing for young girls in school to enroll in STEM programs in university. Prior, people would be like, "Oh, you want to do mechanical engineering? Oh, you want to do, this, that." But
Yeah.
now it's like there's so many scholarships for all students, but especially for young
For
girls who are
girls, yeah.
taking science programs. And then when it comes to university, a lot of the universities are pushing for more practical practice. It's not just theory. Whatever you're dealing in, they ensure that they put you in the environment where immediately after, when you need to work, that's what you would be dealing with. I think they've really pushed for context-based curriculum. And another thing is recently, or I would say in the past couple of years, we are very strict on enrollment of students, but especially female students. If you are caught with a high schooler, a student, anyone that's underage, doing things that you should not be doing, things that would derail her studies, you're getting 30 years. And they're not lenient with this.
Wow. Yeah.
And
So is this
they
like sexual abuse or anything else like physical labor? What would involve in this?
Physical labor, if you want, like house help that is underage, house help that should be in school,
Oh, this
you
law
know,
needs to
the,
come to Uganda.
the law is gonna slam on you. If
Yes.
you, for whatever sickening ideas, you want to pursue relationships with underage girls and they find out, jail for you. If you happen to sexually abuse, of course, and if you happen to impregnate a minor, jail. So they've been very strict with that. Anything that could derail students from, completing their high school education and then moving forward to their university, they will come down with you with the law. And I think there's been a lot of effort there. And of course, these things take time, but the
Yeah,
government
yeah.
has been putting in a lot of effort. And of course, now that's the whole point of having nonprofits and other organizations and other stakeholders. It's not just a fight for the government. We all are
Yeah.
part and parcel of this
Yeah.
fight, and we all need to push forward to ensure that things change at a faster rate.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that law because, oh my God, I cannot think of how many kids in my village got pregnant or whatever. And sometimes, like, it's even at like a respected someone in the society, and they have a kid who is below 18 years old, and they get pregnant. And like, my cousin got pregnant at about 16, 15 years old. And nobody was doing anything about it. I'm like, this guy just like, it doesn't matter if she wants to do it. She's too young to know. So I really love that law. I think that law exists in Uganda, but I don't think they're enforcing it that much. In many cases, the police is just looking on the side, or maybe the police is among the people who are taking advantage of young girls and having young girls as their house helps and wives and stuff like that. So I'm really happy about that. I love that. Okay, so when you're doing your outreach in communities, what are women and girls consistently telling you that they need that nobody is giving them, and what is the gap that keeps them showing up?
I'd like to answer this question by sharing a story that changed how I operate. So it was an event where, different change makers were invited to an embassy luncheon where we would all talk about the programs that we're doing. It's sort of like networking, but also to put the spotlight on the initiatives that we're doing. And they also invited young girls from a particular secondary school. And the other point of the program was to sort of have like a mentorship relationship, because all the different founders of the different initiatives, they are in different practices. I studied law, someone else is, an engineer, someone else is a doctor. So having those girls talk to someone that has studied or is in a field that they see for themselves in the future, sort of like a mentorship thing. And so we talked to the young girls. It was wonderful. It was amazing. But this one young girl changed how I saw community outreach work. And I will not forget that encounter. She told me, I like being here. This was a great event. I'm glad my school brought me here. And it's nice to hear all this motivation from you and the other speakers. But the truth is, when I go home, this is not my reality. So I can believe everything that was said to me here. But when I go home, my studies are not prioritized. When it's time to study for my exams, my parents would rather I'm washing the dishes, or I'm doing the laundry, or I'm helping my mom sell things. And I realized that, at least from what my co-founder and I try to do, we try to implement programs that are ongoing, not just a touch and go thing, not just a you'll see us once and then bye bye. We like to implement a program, work in a specific small area, and sort of track how that program is going, so we can see, is there impact being made? If so, how can we measure it? To what percentage? How are we succeeding in this? And how are we failing in this? What can we do to improve what we're doing? So for me, that encounter taught me that what people need isn't to be used as like photo ops, but rather to be seen as human. And if you choose to care for their problem, to really care and really lend help, but not just be there for the sake of it and then forget them once you leave.
That's so, so good. Martha, when you shared that, it reminded me, I share this all the time. I met 3 young girls who shifted how I see like being a woman. And just like that girl, one of the girls I interviewed was an out of school young girl, and she was a teenager. So her auntie's like, "Oh, you guys need an out of school person. I'm going to give you my niece. Please talk to her. She needs to go back to school." And so when I talked to her, she said, "Resty, I love how you're talking about all these things. I love school. I want to go back to school, but let me tell you my reality." So she tells me how her auntie, who had brought her, was literally like, how there's an auntie who is doing well and like, studying, like, "Oh, you bring her to my place," but she wasn't sending her to school. And this is something that she didn't think we would find out, but she didn't send her to school. She's using her at home as a help, so she can provide for her, everything that she needs. So she said her dad is existing. He doesn't pay anything for her, not because he doesn't have the money, but because he's a drunkard. So he spends all his money on alcohol. And she said, "I don't even have money to buy sanitary towels or even to buy something cute for my face or to dress up well like the rest of my friends are dressing up." So she said, "Now tell me, Resty, if I find a young man on the town who is promising me a phone, a mirror, as something as low as 1,500 Uganda shillings, buying me some makeup that is going to make me look good and make me feel confident. She said, why would I say no to sleeping with him if he's going to give me everything that I desire? And I said, I can't judge you. I get you. Because it's so easy for someone to come and talk about, love your body, respect your body, don't do this. And, you're either preaching as a pastor or a Christian, or you're talking from a privileged state where you have everything that you need, but you haven't actually communicated with these kids individually to find out why are they not performing well in school, or why are they sleeping with young boys or older, why is that girl marrying. It's always important for us to know that help needs to be personalized, because we are all different, we're all going through different things. So I just want to talk a little bit about She Center, because I'm always trying to highlight the work that we are doing. I saw the gap in what I would say segmentation of, like, we are all out there trying to do the same thing. Like, you find 5 NGOs, all of them are trying to help kids in schools, and they're not working together. And so I noticed that, and I figured, I don't think there's any more need for new NGOs. I thought to myself, maybe I could just be the place where the NGOs come and people can easily find them. In my mind, I was thinking, if I want to help East Africans, how am I going to help someone in Tanzania when I'm in Germany? How am I going to help someone in Uganda when I'm in Germany? How am I going to help a woman who is going through something in the village in Western Uganda when I am, let's say, in Kampala? So I said, I can reach out to the people who are already doing the work and then give them a platform, so that if, let's say, Martha is in Tanzania and you're thinking, okay, I'm doing my research, how is this being done in Uganda? You just have to go onto She Center and look through the section where, let's say, education is or sexual reproductive health is, and then you see, okay, I'm seeing this organization, this is the work that it is doing. How can I be able to, learn from what they're doing? What are they implementing in their system that can help us in our work? So another thing is community, because I do feel like it's very, very important as women. I know they exist because we have a lot of group chats. I'm sure if I asked you, Martha, you'd probably belong to quite a number of group chats. But in many cases, some people don't have the same advantage to be able to know that many people. So the She Center also has a section where women can be able to bring their already existing communities onto the platform, but at the same time, for people who come and say, okay, I want to start this kind of community, let me have this on She Center, and that always is something that we also work on. I want to ask, in your case, how have you used the digital space in the work that you're doing, or what plans do you have to help these kids, even if they don't own phones right now, but what plans do you have to help them to be able to compete in this world that we're moving into, where almost everyone can afford a phone?
Right. Uh, Firstly, I would like to congratulate you on the She Center platform. It's something that's truly amazing. This is a very unique idea. I love that your mindset was, there's quite a lot of NGOs, yes. So you thought, rather than opening another nonprofit, I could be the platform where everyone can meet everyone else that they need. And being a facilitator and aiding nonprofits, that's admirable work, and it actually shows a lot in terms of your personality, who you are as a person, and your character. And this is quite big for anyone that hasn't checked out She Center. I had a brief interaction with your website. It's amazing work. The way you've detailed everything just shows how committed you are. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, in terms of what we want to do in order to like sort of introduce the children to digitalization, so we don't exactly deal in digital skills. We're mostly combating education access. So we're dealing with having the accurate curriculum. We're pushing for trainers, teachers to be, professional and well trained, to be qualified. and also for supporting materials to be available. And that goes from the surroundings like classrooms, benches,
Yeah.
books, everything to be in order. We also do deal with ensuring that students are exposed and are taught soft skills along their formal education. Um, but we do have different programs. So, as UHDF, we have a mental health program. We believe kids cannot excel well without being mentally, you know, well as well, mentally sound. They cannot perform
Yeah.
well. We do have an environmental program, and we have a soft skills program. But in terms of introducing digitalization, the way we plan on doing it is to ensure that students have access to, internet and have access to better equipment. So for students who don't have computer labs, it's definitely something on our to-do list to ensure that they have, the computer labs and all the technology that is required for it. For students who might need projectors and things like that, we're working towards ensuring that they have that because it will be aiding their learning process and it will be, adding to the end result. And that is them, finishing their education and being qualified and, having efficiently gone through school. So we don't have a specific digitalization program, but that's how we have plans to incorporate that into the
Ah,
work that
okay.
we
That's
do.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I have an intern. Actually, her episode came out. She's from Tanzania, and she grew up, I would say, in a remote place in Tanzania. And she was telling me how, of course, she struggled so much being raised by her grandparents. And she told me that she didn't know how she would go to the university because she had only gotten like scholarships to do the final education. And she said she bought a phone with her salary, and using this phone, she decided to just start loading data to apply for university scholarships and different opportunities. And as we speak, she's studying in Mauritius, which was so admirable because she said the first time she bought her phone, she made me laugh. She said all she knew about phones was taking Snapchats and posting and doing your face and all that stuff. And so she started an organization with her friends. I think it's called Green Tech. So when she said it, it made it seem like, oh, she's teaching the kids, IT and all these things because that's what she's pursuing for her bachelor's. But it was interesting. She said, Resty, these kids have phones. Many young girls my age have phones, but they don't know what to do with the phones. Like you're 16, 18, maybe your mom has a phone, but you just get it to look at TikTok and look at Instagram, and you're not even thinking of how this phone, in her case, can get you a scholarship to study abroad. This young girl in your country who challenged me to think about tech skills for young girls in the village, not to be about IT and software and all that, but rather what to do when I buy a phone so that I can be able to get a scholarship, a job opportunity, or to open an account and start posting content that might actually lift my family out of poverty. So I don't know if something that you've done in your field right now, or is this something that you think this young girl from Tanzania, you should actually, I'm going to send you her link on Instagram so you can see her because that's amazing what she did.
That's admirable. That's actually amazing.
Yes. Yeah. Do you wanna talk about this with regards to how you think this can be of help to the young girls, or do you feel, or to the children that you're helping, or do you feel like the group that you're talking to might not be in that range of people who have phones? I don't know. I know very few people have phones at the age of 12 and under.
So we mostly deal with students who are, who come from underprivileged circumstances, but also they're quite young. We deal with kids
Yeah.
at an early stage, adolescents as well, but our programs for now are mostly focused on the young children. So access
Okay,
to
makes
or
sense.
having
Makes
a
sense. Yeah.
phone might not be, but you
Yeah.
telling me that story is very important. And yes, I would love to follow that young girl because I once heard this Tanzanian businessman say that, before he started his company that deals with, financial technology, he had to learn coding. He didn't know coding. He didn't have a background in coding. So his phone is what helped him learn YouTube and then other
Wow.
apps. So what you said and
Yeah.
what that young Tanzanian girl said is not about having the phone, it's about having the mind to pursue more. So yes, I have a phone, but how can I use this to get me more opportunities? Social media can be
Yes.
great for taking pictures, for escapism, but at the same time, there's a network of wonderful people. I've not met you physically, but we met because of
Yeah,
my
but we said on
phone.
social media. Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because
That's
of us
true. That's very
meeting,
true.
we created impact. So it's definitely something.
Yeah. So I have two last questions. I want us to talk about your nomination. And what does that recognition mean to you? So you were nominated for East African Youth Awards Education Catalyst Award. Oh my God, it's so long. What does that recognition mean to you? And what does that say about where girls' education in East Africa stands right now?
Um, the nomination meant a lot, but in a different light. I think for me, I've been in the advocacy space for about 7 years since I was in university. And so
Yeah.
um, when you do this work, it's not really about who knows you or how popular you are, it's about the impact. But then when you get nominated on this space, a regional award, you realize that the work I'm doing is creating impact.
Matter.
When it gets
Yeah, it is.
noticed, you realize, okay, so it's working. I think for me, it's important because it affirms that what I am working on is important, not just to myself, but others. But secondly,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it brings attention to the work that I do. So I'm very grateful for it. And
Yeah.
education is important. I think that's why that award category is there. Education in our region, in East Africa and Africa at large, is very important, especially for the girl child. And people are,
Yeah.
they're on the front line, spearheading this fight.
Yeah, that's true. I like that. And you describe yourself as an education advocate by calling, not just a career. How did you know the difference between the two?
So with me studying law, I could have landed in any office or any organization. There's a lot of rooms where law professionals can get to work, but I realized that I was being push towards using my voice for creating change, particularly around education. And it's not something that happened after I graduated university. Even when I was in high school, I was in a lot of initiatives, in a lot of projects. So I just stopped to realize the pattern in my life, and I realized this was a recurring pattern. And I realized it wasn't just a hobby, it wasn't a one time thing, it was a lifetime commitment. I was passionate about it. And so I began
Yeah.
embracing it.
I love that. I love how you said that. I always like to say, I heard of this term called unique agitation. So you are agitated by something unique only to you, and other people might think, really? You could be making so much money as a lawyer, and you're choosing this, struggling in the non-government space, and that person might just never understand that your call, like we are all built to care about one thing, and theirs might be money, but yours might be to see a change in the world. So I love that. Okay, so for the young woman listening who wants to start something, an NGO, a foundation, a movement, but feels like she doesn't have enough credentials, enough resources, enough connections, what would you tell her?
I would tell her the cliche, just start. A lot of people say this,
Yeah.
but if you were to wait to have everything in line, the resources, the network, the platform, the opportunity, you would never start. You would be waiting forever. Start clumsy, start small, start wherever you're from. Some opportunities will meet you along the way, but if you never start, you will never meet those opportunities. Just start.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's that. I love that. I love you. Thank you so much, Martha. This has been very insightful. I've learned so
Thank you,
much from your
Resty.
journey. I love talking to people. I love getting to know people because that's how I learn. As you can tell, most of my stories start with there's this person. Like I tell my stories or tell everything through storytelling because I feel like I learn more when I get to know someone and why they're passionate about something. So if this is a lesson to anybody out there, you don't need money. You don't need money to start. You just need the goal, that zeal. So thank you so much, Martha. Is there anything that you feel like you wanted to talk about that we haven't discussed before we finish?
No, I think we discussed a lot of things. And if
Yeah.
anything, maybe some other day we could do a part two because there's so much more to talk about.
Definitely, definitely. Yes, that's so true. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to meet you as an acquaintance, and I'm going to be, of course, following up with what you're doing. The East African Youth Awards didn't nominate you by accident. The girls in Kasararwe speak, the children at Uplift speak, and today you spoke for every woman who is out there building quietly, faithfully, and without enough support. So this is the answer to why She Center exists. Because Martha is in Tanzania and because there are thousands of Marthas around Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, and beyond, and women and men who are educated, purposeful, and doing the work, and they deserve a community that sees them, resources that reach them, and a platform that refuses to let them be invisible. So She Center is free to any woman out there who is willing to use it. It's built for you and it exists because the gaps are real and the need is urgent, and African women have waited long enough. You guys have heard that what I've been telling you about at She Center, coming from my experience working in remote villages in Uganda, it's happening in Tanzania as well. So we need to wake up and be aware that we are the change. We don't have to wait for our governments to be the change. Maybe your knowledge, your skills, your experience might be just what we need right now to be able to make the change in East Africa. So if today started something in you, whether you're a founder, an advocate, a student, or a woman still searching for her next step, come home to She Center, find your tribe, access your resources. By the way, we have free resources on She Center, and know that you are not alone. So until next time, keep rising. Please help me spread the word by sharing our episodes with your friends, family, and followers. Let's amplify the voices of women, break barriers, challenge stereotypes, and create a network of support and empowerment. Together, we can bring about positive change and make this world a better place for all. This is She Center, the female podcast, where women's stories matter. I love you all. God bless.